Yo, what's good, family? Welcome back to Football Unfiltered. It's Carl Phillip here, and today we are coming in hot because the Champions League is back, and you already know what time it is. We separating the contenders from the pretenders. We also talking about this quiet January window. Is it a smart business or just clubs or just scared of making some moves? And we gotta show love to because Trinity Rodman become the highest paid female player. What that means for the game is bigger than one contract. And then we're gonna get real for a minute. The mental cost of being a pro, pressure, expectation, and what fans don't see. I'm here with my guy Alain and also Alex. Let's get into it. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great, coach. How about you? How are you holding up with the weather, man? Oh no, you're in the Midwest. Are
Hey
you are
man,
you warm?
it's
Are you do you have
it
someone keeping you warm, coach?
Hey man, you try to get into some stuff, man. No, but you're right, man. It's very cold, and we haven't seen this type of weather in a long time in the Midwest. But so for everybody in the Midwest, listen to us in the Midwest, also in the north side of the country. Please stay safe, stay warm. And that's why we're here tonight, to keep you distracted from shoveling the snow and or being outside in the cold. So that's why we're here to bring you some good entertainment tonight to kind of keep you distracted for half an hour. So Alex, how you doing, my man?
Good.
You're good, Ale. So let's get started. We kind of talk about the Champions League is back. So based on what you guys see, so let me start. Can you guys tell me what are the team that you guys are thinking are contenders, or what are the top three that you guys think are pretenders? So Ale, what in your opinion, what are the contenders right now in the Champions League?
The contenders, that's a great question, coach. The contenders for me, as we stand, number one spot has to be Real Madrid. There's no way out of it. I think right now they have the star power. They have a new coach. They're coming up with some new energy. Mbappe is on fire. You have Vini. Yeah, there's a few things they need to adjust along the way, but I feel like they're a pretty strong team in Spain, and I think they're definitely my number one pick to win it all. I think Manchester City also is another great team. I think tactically they're solid. I think they have a solid system. They're doing pretty well also in England. And then I think you cannot undermine and discount Bayern. I think Bayern Munich, they're ruthless. They have that always that no fear, strong mentality, always on the go. So I think those three teams, I think between Real Madrid, Manchester City, and Bayern Munich, I think those are the three teams that are serious contenders for this year's um, the European Champion tournament.
So Alex, I'm gonna flip the question. So what are the team you believe are pretenders?
Uh, the teams that I believe are pretenders are. I mean, there's several teams. I haven't seen the new one just yet. But I think mostly the teams that are at the bottom because it's getting later in the tournament. Only a few games left for them to survive. I think I didn't get a chance to see the 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 standings. But I think it's pretty much just going to be the teams all the way at the bottom because they're not going to have a chance to reach the top and make it out to the round of 32 because they don't have enough time to do it anymore. I mean, it was supposed to be the chance to do it before, but now it won't be able to happen. And I think obviously, as Anne said, the teams that are going to be making it, Real Madrid, Man City, Bayern were undefeated until just I think, a few days ago. But yeah,
So I think for me, when you're looking at contenders and pretenders, some teams they start hot, so you know, when you're looking at a team like Arsenal, they always look good in the first half of the season, and then when it matters, and they falter. So is Arsenal a pretender or a contender?
Coach, can you clarify for the public what do you mean by pretender and what do you
So
mean
what I
by
mean by pretender and contender. So you got teams that like no matter what it is. So when you're looking at the last 4 years, the last 5 years in the Champions League, you always get the Real Madrid in the Final Four. You always get the same team. Real Madrid, Man City always gonna make a run. Obviously Barcelona of a late. So and Bayern, right? So you always see those team in the final eight and final eight and final four. And you got pretenders is the team that they look, even though they have the names, they look good, but at the end, and then when they start playing some good when some good competition, and then they're not playing well no more. So when you're looking at it, Liverpool last year, at and in the first part of the season, they were a contender. So they were beating everybody, and they were beating everybody. And at the end of the season, they were not playing well anymore. So that's what I wanted you guys to look at is, okay, some team might look good now. Are they truly contender or pretenders? That's what I mean by contender or pretenders. That makes sense?
Yep, that makes a lot of sense.
All right. So now go back. So in your opinion, which one is a true contender? So let's go back. So now that you understand what we're talking about, what are the top three contenders and the top three pretenders
For me or for Alex?
for you?
Yeah, for me, I'm pretty clear about. I mean, I'm a little bit biased, right? I definitely think that Real Madrid is number one. I think Manchester City is number three. I also earlier mentioned Bayern Munich, but with that being said, I I, I like Paris Saint Germain. You know that I'm a big fan of Dembele. I will say if you gave me a number four pick, I will pretty much put Paris Saint-Germain in the list. But for now, I'll stick with those top three. In terms of pretenders, I think Arsenal, like you said, it's one of those teams. They play well. They always give you a good right for your money. But at the end of the day, when it comes time for them to show up, something always seems to happen, right? So I think definitely you're right. I agree with you, coach. I think Arsenal is one of the list, and then I will say Inter Milan, um, in Italy. I think they look like they want to win this, but I don't know if they're convincing everybody yet that they're ready for it.
So let's kind of get a segue to the next topic, which is usually January, a lot of teams try to make some moves to get ready for the later part of the season, uh, but it's been a quiet January window. So you guys are you guys feeling that the team don't want to break the chemistry by bringing new players, or you feel like teams are kind of scared to spend money right now or try to make some moves. So I'm gonna start with you, Ale.
I think the teams are being careful. I think they're being very careful. I think you don't want to just go ahead and spend money and make a bad investment right away. Early in January, I think it's the time that you're quiet. You're trying to manage your balance sheet better. You're trying to make sure that you're negotiating for the best contracts because you could go for a pretty aggressive contract and you could get stuck for the next 5 to 10 years. So you don't want to panic. I think you want to look at the marketplace, look at the players, look at the chemistry that you have on your teams, to truly assess your needs before you go in and try to jump into this marketplace. So I think for now, I think It's not about being aggressive. I think it's being disciplined, being careful, not making any wrong moves that could hurt you in the future. So that's how I see it myself.
So, Alex, do you think the World Cup coming up and in the summer has something to do with the quiet January window?
Um, I don't think it has anything to really do with it. I mean, sometimes it could because some players want more playing time and they know that they might get called up for it, achieving more playing time. But honestly, most part, I think most teams are just looking for the right players to get. They don't want to just get any player for that player to start any trouble. They just want to be they want to be quiet. They want to keep what they have because especially a lot of these teams had splashed out on the first transfer window that had opened. So I think they're waiting for the right moment. But to be honest, I think that they're they know the team that they have and they know what they can do. I think what I saw is mostly the teams who really needed the help were the teams who bought players. Like
Mhm.
let's say PSG, they didn't buy. I think they may have bought one, but they didn't buy many players. They didn't just go out because they know they have a good squad. And also, you have to consider the team chemistry. When you bring in a new player, everyone has to adapt with the player. Not only the player has to adapt with the team, but everyone has to adapt with his playing style, and he has to adapt with everyone else's playing style. And it takes a big toll on the club. It's a very challenging process. You can't just take any player that you want because they have to fit in with the team. And we saw this with PSG buying players that they didn't need and then having to let them go. I think these teams are just looking for the right moment. Maybe next season might be the time, but they're looking at how the season's gonna go. If it bounces their way, if it doesn't, then yeah.
Yeah. So one thing I notice is there's not a lot of big injuries, and maybe that play a role in that because there's not a lot of big players, big names that are out because of injury. Because usually that's where teams like to make moves and then try to replace some players, especially if they know gonna be out for a long period of time. It looks like all the injuries happen early in the season, so that's probably why a lot of teams are staying put with the current squad because, like I said, there's not a lot of injuries going on right now. Everybody's playing right now. Most everybody's playing, or they coming back from injuries. So maybe that has to do with it. But because usually what you see is when you have teams that are decimated by a lot of injuries, a lot of clubs, especially clubs that play a lot of games later on in the season. They have the Champions League, they have the different leagues. They wanted to beef up the teams by adding more players. Uh, and a lot of players now, when you think about the big names, they're getting older now. So I think a lot of teams don't want to make moves, to try to get those older players, and then want to invest more in the youth and kind of promote the younger players. So uh, it's kind of strange. Usually, a lot of times people try to wait for the January to see who they're gonna pick or who's gonna make some moves. But this year is kind of strange with a quiet January window. There's not a lot of big names, a big transfer coming up. So maybe that's a good thing. So we'll see how it's gonna play out. But anyway, we got some good news also from the U.S. Trinity Rodman is now the highest paid female player and for women's soccer. So Ali, I'm gonna start with you because you always have a business aspect to it. So what does that mean to women's soccer in general?
I think that's a great news. I think it resets the market. I think the Women's Soccer Federation, um, they've been fighting for years to get that sense of equality. to get fair wages. And I think with Trinity having that contract, and from what I read on this, she signed a 3-year deal with the Washington Spirit, right? That runs to 2028, and is reportedly worth more than $2 million per year. And in addition to a prior record deal around 1.1 million with endorsements and contracts. So that's amazing. That's solid. I think it resets the marketplace. I think it makes the U.S. market a bit more competitive, because also from what I read on this, she also had the option to go and play overseas in Europe. She had teams that were interested in her, but she decided to stay in the U.S. and support the league here, the women's soccer league here in the United States, which is a great deal. And I think you and I had that conversation a few months ago when we were talking about the future of men's soccer, about the MLS and the ability of the MLS to attract players and have players stay here, grow talent internally, organically. And I think Trinity is a very good example of what they can do. Now, we also know that the U.S. Soccer Women's Soccer Federation is was on the top soccer federations in the world, which means the level of soccer being played here is quite competitive because they're very talented. But
Yep.
the fact that money is being sent and then players are being compensated for their talent, I feel like it's a very, very good move for the sport, for women's soccer.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was great, especially women's soccer, especially in the U.S., has been like I would say the model when it
Hmm.
comes to women's soccer, and to be able to compensate one of the players, especially from the U.S. soccer team, and it's not like I mean, it's not like they compensate her because of her name. She's very good. She's very, very good, and also she's the future of women's soccer. I think kudos to everybody that preceded before her, like the Mia Hamm, you know, so and everybody that also played the game, that kind of paved the way for her to get such contract today. I think this is good, great news, and also for all the girls playing soccer right now, young girls playing soccer, if they know that okay, that's a big possibility that they can go and play. They can go and play and get compensated and make money just like the men's. I think that sends the right message for younger girls in this country. So, uh, Alex, I know you're a young player yourself. You playing the game, so and then you probably play with at some point a co-ed with some girls in your team like co-ed, especially when you were younger. So, what, in your opinion, what does that mean for the future when you see a player like Trinity Rodman getting that kind of deal?
Well, I personally haven't played co-ed, but I feel like this is a very good start for women's soccer. It's a very good move. I think it's all around good, good all around. It's really amazing. For them to give that to her. She now has the biggest payment in women's soccer. And I think that's a great accomplishment. Um, and that gives many hopes for young girls, young kids in general to see her as a model and want to come and play soccer, and help out the U.S. and maybe the U.S. one day will become the biggest footballing nation.
I mean, the U.S. is already the biggest
Yeah.
football in the nation, man, for women. Come
Yeah.
on, Alex. I mean, they have
Oh,
multiple. Come on, man. So what I would like to happen is, hopefully the U.S. can pave the way for the rest of the America to tag along, like the Brazil of the world. Because one of the things that players go to Europe, and Alain kind of mentioned that as well too, is the competition level. Like just like the men's, the women's in Europe, they have a Champions League for women. As a matter of fact, our beloved uh,
Melchi,
yeah,
Dumone.
Melfi Monet is playing right now, and one year she was in the championship final. So I think one the thing is you see here is, yeah, it's great that you have an American player get paid, but at the same time you got to look at that from a competition standpoint. So what can the U.S. can the U.S. and Canada or Mexico, can they emulate something like have a Copa Libertadores like for the women, just like they have one for the men? So can they do something like that? Because that's where the money gonna come, right? It's just like when people are looking at good competition, people can tune in and play in the Copa Libertadores for women. You got Boca Juniors of the world, you got a couple Mexican Chivas, and I don't know if they have a women's soccer. Plus, you have the U.S. teams playing in some kind of tournament like that to kind of expand the game. So this women can play in the highest level. Yes, they play the league, which is the American League. That's very competitive. But I think one of the things that you have in US that we don't have, I mean, what you have in Europe that we don't have in the US, on top of the leagues, the domestic leagues they play, they also have a Champions League. They also play as well too. So I think that's one thing that they need to figure out here to kind of expand the game in the American continent per se. So we can be as competitive as they are in Europe. So that's the way I look at it. But Alex, man, to answer your question, man, the women has been one of the best team in the world, man, for
For a long time.
for a long, long, long time. So,
We
I
so
do want to add
dominate
something.
soccer.
I do want to add something. I think they do have a Copa Libertadores for the women. I
say it
think it
again.
was Flamingo. I think they have a Copa Libertadores for the women.
Yeah, but I mean, the Copa Libertadores for the women is not as big as the Champions League. So I think that they need
No,
to
because
start.
it's a Libertadores. It's just like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
top.
but it's a little bit more popular for on the men's level. So they need to make sure that they make it more popular on the women's level. But anyway, so last week we saw what happened with Brian Diaz, right? So he was playing in the championships final, and then try a panica at the end of the game, and missed the PK, and you could see that the toll that had on him, especially when it was the tournament highest scorer. So in the midst of losing the game, he had to walk up the stage to pick up that trophy. But you could see the weight on him. So that's one thing that I think that it's being overlooked, because people always see, the players, they're very famous, they have all the money, they should be good. They have a great life. And we don't want to say that they don't have a great life, but there's a mental aspect of it that it's a big weight. So I mean, it's just like any profession, right? You have the weight on you to perform right, to keep performing at the highest level. The difference at work. At work, only people that you work with know what you're doing, and sometimes people that work with you, they don't even know anything about your performance. But when you're a professional athlete, the world can see how you perform. Everybody can, especially now with social media, everybody can troll, everybody has an opinion. So, is this something that people are overlooking, when you're looking at mental health and sports in general?
I do think so. I think what you mentioned is on point. I think looking at what happened last week and what Mbappe did this weekend,
Yeah.
that was like, to show him, this is how you do it. Maybe people will see it on a negative way, or they will see it as a way to motivate him and drive him up a little bit.
Hmm.
But to go back to your question, yeah, I think there's a lot of pressure. I think those professional players undergo a lot of pressures on a daily basis. You have performance scrutiny, right? They're always consistently under scrutiny based on how they do, how they perform. I think the perception is, oh, because you are a professional player, because we are paying you millions and millions of dollars, because you have that nice life, you're not allowed to make any mistakes. You're expected to perform at the highest level. And what happens when you don't perform, or you make a mistake, or you miss a goal, or you don't win a tournament that you're supposed to win? You are faced with a lot of backlash. You get faced by backlash by your fans, by your countrymen, by your club, by your managers, by your sponsors. Because at the end of the day, let's keep it straight. This is a business. Companies are spending money out there on the best players. And if I'm going to associate you with my brand, I expect you to perform at the highest level. So, yes, there are social media abuses happening. You know, those are serious problems. Another big deal that we don't talk about is, their contract is tied to their performance. So yes, you may have a multi-million dollar contract, and every day, every Sunday, or every Saturday, or every Tuesday or Wednesday when you play a tournament, you don't perform as much. You start getting worried about your contract, because those results are tied to your performance. And if your performance is lackluster, well, guess what? You may not get a contract, or you may not get a contract that you deem suitable for your performance. So those athletes are under a lot of pressure. I think the fans honestly do not care. I don't think we show them the love and appreciation because we only want them to win. And I feel like if you're not a strong player, if you're not a strong-minded player with a strong core, you could easily get distracted and lose your center. And we've seen this with players like the Neymars of the world that get distracted, the Ronaldinhos that are not lasting. They are not fully playing to their full potential. You've seen players like the Messis of the world who's been able to honestly master this. Something that I admire with Messi is his ability to always remain centered, focused, and engaged. Messi had a lot of successes throughout his career, but he also had a lot of failures. But he kept coming back. He's been criticized all the time for not leading Argentina to World Cup after World Cup. But you know what? He finally did it. So there's a lot of major examples like this in soccer. But to go back to what you were saying, yes, I do feel that the media is unfair. I feel like the fan base can be very cruel. I feel like the sponsors don't play around when it comes to their money. And at least I think the club managers and the club owners are constantly putting pressure on those players to perform, especially when they are injured. That's the risk. There's an injury timeline. You may be injured, and we've seen this in soccer. We've seen this in American football. We've seen this in basketball. Like sometimes the players are so worried about their performance, they would rather go back and play injured. And then when they go back and play injured, what happens? It gets worse. So I'm going to stop here, but just to kind of paint to you the picture on the pressures that those professionals are under. And I think we as fans, we need to realize that, and it'll be more, I will say, a bit more sensitive to their situation, although they're making millions of dollars.
Yeah, yeah. I always say that it comes with the territory, right? They are in a entertainment business that brings a lot of money, so they get paid accordingly. But yeah, you're right. At the end of the day, they're humans, just like everybody else.
Mhm.
They have feelings, just like everybody else. Even though they are very good at what they do, but they're just no different than people like us, right? But and and it can be a big weight, on them, especially to perform. Like people like us, we are confined to only our environment. But when you have a billion people watching you, when you have a million people watching you, every weekend or every move, right now with social media, I mean, you can see where Messi ate last night, what restaurant he went last night, and so on. So they and constantly in front of a public eyes. So there's a lot of pressure and stress that comes with it. So and fans, we only see one thing, right? It's either we see win only wins, and the minute that that person is not performing or the team is not winning, so we want that person out. So we are very when it comes to fanhood, it's black and white. There's no gray area. And you're like, yeah, maybe he didn't feel good today, or maybe he had a tough day at home. We don't care about that. We just want you to perform. So, Alex, you are a young player. Uh, so, you know, is this something that the coach kind of talk to young players now, how to deal with stress and how to focus on your mental fitness? Is that something that they discuss even to the team that even to your team? Is this something that the coaches are discussing with you now?
Well, coaches don't really discuss that as much, but especially when it's a big game, especially like when it's a finals, they tell us to relax, and they tell us to just have fun, make sure that the people in the stands aren't making us go crazy, making us lose our minds, and we just have to calm down, because there's going to be calls, there's going to be plays that don't go our way, and we have to make sure that we calm down and control our emotions. But I mean, as far as that, it's not really. It's more about winning. Um, it's just about performing, but it's 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 between both. It varies, because if you're doing good, then it's about winning. But if you're doing bad, it's about relaxing. So I think that's really the main focus in today's day for coaches. Um, yeah, I think that's how it is.
So, Ali, I'm going to ask you one question. You're a parent, and then you have kids that perform in any type of, your son plays soccer, and your daughter plays volleyball, and so on. So, do you feel like the kids nowadays have more pressure on them than us when we were growing up?
Yes, I do. I do. They get a lot more pressure because guess who puts more pressure on the kids? It's not the coach, not the teams, the parents. The parents are the worst. I've been on those games. I've been that crazy parent. I mean,
Mm.
I've been in situation after soccer games where Chris, I felt like they didn't do well. I had to pull him out, have a long lecture with him, tell him how I was disappointed. And if you couldn't perform the right way, I'll pull him out of soccer. It's because I think the parents get so vested into the game and they don't realize that they put so much pressure on the child. Another thing I will say, even on those soccer games, when you go to those matches, you have a coach. You've been a coach. You see parents trying to coach the team. They're standing like all the way across the field, trying to coach the players, trying to tell the players what to do, when to run, when to pass, where that's not their job. So yes, I feel like we've allowed our passion or a competitive spirit to take over the game, and we don't realize that the kids are doing this for fun. Yes, I feel like playing sports is a good thing for a young child because it instills them values that are going to be worth much more as they get older, such as discipline, structure, your desire to win. But at the same time, I think it's getting worse and worse. There's one more thing I want to add to this, coach. It's the money factor. Now that you have gambling involved,
Yeah.
we've opened up the gambling. Gambling has been legalized. So
Yeah.
that creates additional pressure, I feel, on the players because you don't know who's involved. We've had instances where we've heard about players participating in gambling rings, being part of those kind of, financial arrangements. That puts pressure. Not only you have to perform, not only do you have to score goals or you have to make baskets, but now you're tied up in gambling. So that's it's very, very hard. These days, being a professional player, it's very stressful.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because that's one thing that, people get overlooked. It's the amount of money people, I mean, you hearing, how much money people are winning to gambling, and then how much money people are just gambling with. Some people are putting millions of dollars, to gambling. That's a lot. That's a lot of money. That's some people are just their livelihood, So, but you're right, and not even the gambling part of it. And then you kind of talk about the parents, the pressure the parents are putting on the kids because not only the competitive spirit that they have, but also the money they're spending. So that's another way to add more pressure. Say, man, I'm spending $2,000 for you to play soccer or whatever sport you're playing. You better perform. So I'm expecting you to perform at the highest level. So yeah, you absolutely right. I think there's so much at stake, and that's added more to the pressure. And also social media. Now everybody can have videos of somebody getting crossed, and then that video can go viral, or
Hmm.
somebody break somebody's ankle, and next thing you know, everybody posted on social media. I mean, can you imagine Boateng? When Messi dropped.
Oh man,
Mean,
that thing is.
imagine that play. I mean, it's so funny. This dude is one of the greatest defenders for Germany, but you only remember him by that move. I mean, nobody remember that he won the World Cup in 2014, beating Messi's team in 2014,
Oh,
right?
he wasn't that. I don't even remember that. He
Yeah,
wasn't
it
that
was. Oh yeah,
Germany team
And
in
then
Brazil.
and then
yeah. He was
yeah,
part
and
of that
then
golden. He's part of that golden generation of Germany. That golden
and then it was
generation of Germany. That
the year after Messi did that.
Yeah, Messi did that the year after in 2015. So that's what I'm saying. It's just like, but as great that the guy was, and then he even said that. He said, "Man, I was flying high until that thing happened, and then everybody just remembered me by getting dropped." He said, "You know what? He kind of play along with it." He said, "At least I got dropped by Messi." But that's what I'm saying. Everybody only see that. When you're looking at Messi highlights. I mean, Boateng is always on Messi's highlight. So, but
Always.
always on Messi highlights forever. But anyway, so those are the things that with social media. I mean, the internet is undefeated, man. I mean, if something happened on the internet, you always gonna be there for a long time. So anyway, so Alain, uh, so one thing that I like to do, I want to say thank you to all of our supporters for tuning in, every weekend with us. One of the reasons sometimes, even if it gets hard, it makes it easy for us because we know that you're gonna tune in to watch us, and we have grown a lot from the day from a subscriber standpoint. Our YouTube subscribers went up. So thank you guys for watching us and subscribing to our YouTube channel. So if you missed this episode live, you can always catch us on Spotify. Look for Football Unfiltered. Also on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel as well. So Ale, uh, I'm gonna let you close this.
No, yeah, thank you, Coach. Again, guys, it's been a great week, great show again. Thank you, Alex, for joining us. What I would like to say is, guys, Please join our Futbol Unfiltered family on YouTube. Like I said, we're trying to grow. We're putting a lot of content on this channel for you guys to enjoy. Anytime, like Coach said, if you miss this show, you get a chance to listen to us, get to partake in those debates, and also share your comments. Also, I will say, if you haven't checked out our Fit That community shop, please go in, and this beautiful shirt that I have, Soccer Unfiltered, you can get it on the fitthatcommunity.com website, and there's a lot of great apparels, a lot of great products out there for you guys to check out. So don't hesitate. And finally, on Spotify, we are also on Spotify. So whenever you're on your way to the gym, you're in your car, you're going to work or leaving work, you want to, listen to some soccer talk, go ahead and log into Spotify, and you will be able to listen to us. So, guys, I would like to thank you, everyone. Those of you in the Midwest, in the Northeast, going through the storm, please stay safe, be careful, stay warm. Don't go outside if you don't have to, and we'll pray for you guys. All right. Have a great week. See you next Sunday.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Alain. Like always, thank you guys. We love you guys, and we can't wait to see you again next week. Till then, Futbol Unfiltered, we out.